Hey, podcasters, welcome to the Sean Hare Show, where it's my job to help you learn how to look, feel, and live better. Now, it's 2020, it's the new year, you've got resolutions, you've probably been setting goals. I don't know how you've got on with them by now. Maybe you feel like you've already messed them up. Maybe you feel like you're going to smash it this year, and hopefully you will, and I really want you to. And that's what this episode is going to be all about. It's not going to be a super long one. What I wanted to do is just let you know about something that I've been recommending a lot in the past week or so on Instagram and on Facebook and things. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys listening to the podcast got it as well. So like I said, it's the new year. New Year's resolutions are going to be on your mind. And odds are that resolution is going to be the same as the one you did last year. Maybe it was losing weight, maybe it was getting fitter, maybe it was getting in shape, maybe it was getting your finances in order. I don't know, it could have been anything, but odds are most of the time our resolutions are the same year after year after year. And the thing is with that, you might feel a bit silly just doing the same one over and over again, feeling like, is it worth me doing it again if I'm just going to mess it up again? Because that's probably what happened, if we're honest. We started doing it last year, it might have gone well for a little while, and then it all fell apart. I don't know when it fell apart. Maybe it was a week in, maybe it was a month in, it could have been at any point, but at some point it fell apart, which is why it's your New Year's resolution again now. We can fix that. We can make it so that it doesn't break down again. We can make it so that you don't have to make this resolution again this time next year. And, we can talk about goal setting. We can talk about how maybe your goal was a bit too vague. This is something I've been talking about recently. Maybe it was that the resolution you set last year was just too vague. If your resolution is to lose weight or get fitter, that doesn't really mean anything, or it's hard to know what it means, which means it's hard to know when you've achieved it. If your goal is to lose weight, that could mean a stone. That could mean a stone and a half. It could mean dropping 2 dress sizes. It could mean, you know what I'm getting at. It has to mean something. I'm going a bit off on a, it's not really making sense right now. Partially because I'm worried that this mic isn't working, because it's brand new. I got it for Christmas, and I was just trying to play with it, and it didn't seem like it was coming out right. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Your goal at the start has to be more specific. If your goal is lose weight, you don't know if you've got there. So it might be the case that you were doing everything right last year, but then because you didn't have a set amount of weight you wanted to lose, you didn't know how close you were to it. You didn't know if you were nearly there. You didn't know if you'd gone past it, but still felt like you weren't there. You don't have to lose all the weight you need to lose this year. For example, it could be you want to lose a stone this year and a stone next year. And you know what? That's not slow progress. You don't have to worry about how slow progress feels. As long as it turns out that in the long run, you reach the goal and keep the results, that's all that matters. If your goal is to lose a stone this year, awesome. Track things like what you're doing day to day and what's coming out as a result of that, and then you'll know if you've reached the goal or not. So that's the first part. In terms of talking about goal setting, your goal has to be more specific. You need to be able to break it down to a set amount of what is going to happen. How do I know when I've reached the goal? And you also need to be able to measure your progress towards that goal. Now, that's the first part of it, but that's not what I really wanted to get into, okay? What I really wanted to get into was a lot more broad than that, and it takes a lot more work and thinking about. But don't be pushed to the side because of that. Don't let that kind of scare you off doing it, because you read all the fluffy Instagram quotes. You know that anything worth having takes time, takes effort, takes work. And starting again, that's work. Yeah, definitely. And, that's going to help you get somewhere. But if you want to make something different happen as a result, if you want to get the results and then keep them, that's the different thing that we want to make happen. You need to do something different in order to get there. Right? Here's what we need to know. You tried to do this last year, and that's awesome. And what you did to get there was awesome. And I've been a culprit in the past of saying, if you're following a plan and you have to start it over and over and over again, well, then that plan doesn't work because it hasn't taught you how to not go backwards. And literally, as I was writing the notes for this episode, I sort of thought to myself, you've been a bit of a prick there. Because that's not what those plans are for. If you're doing a weight loss plan, I've seen so many people online talking about how hard maintenance is. And it is, because losing weight means cutting down on your intake, increasing your energy output with exercise and activity and all that stuff. But then getting into maintenance means eating a little bit more again, because we have that balance of energy in needs to go down, energy out needs to go up. But then to get a balance again, we need the energy in to come back up slightly so that things then stay the same. We don't keep losing. And that can be a hard balance to find. The thing is, with a lot of plans, they don't teach you how to find that balance once you've got to the goal you need to get to. And aside from that, it's not even that element of the plan you followed last time doesn't work, because the weight loss plan you followed, that part did work. The issue that most of us have is when other stuff starts getting in the way. Because we can be successful, we can do everything right, we can be following the plan to a T, we can be prepping our food, we can be eating the right foods, we can be eating the right amounts of food, we can be exercising, working out, doing stuff that's fun so it's more consistent that we do it. But then things come up. Your kids have a few days off school because they're not well. You have a few days off work because you're not well. The kids start acting up. Your partner starts just being a bit of a bellend, and then that stresses you out, and then that kind of makes you feel like you want to comfort eat, or maybe something's going on at work, and that makes you come home and feel like stress eating, and all these different things start to add up. And here's the key to all of this. You're going to start this plan again. You're probably going to start the same one as last year. And those same things are going to come up to get in the way. Because that's what happens. That's just how life works. You do the same things pretty much every day. You do the same things then pretty much week to week, month to month, year to year. And that's not a bad thing. Consistency and routine and all of that is good. We like to go on holiday a couple of times a year. We like having the weekends off. We like knowing what's going on what day. The past week or two, well, it's been the Christmas break. How many times have you found yourself thinking, what day is it? Even today when I was at work, I've thought many times, wait, what day is it today? Is it Monday? Should I have done the podcast already? No, I'm doing it tonight because it's going out on Monday. So wait, what does that mean this day is? Oh yeah, it's Saturday. And it's so confusing, isn't it? When everything goes out of routine and everything goes out of whack and you don't know what's going on. Well then, those same things then knock on to things like your food prep. For example, last night, I was off work, and the day before, Thursday, was my first day back in. And Ellis, my girlfriend, in case you didn't know, bought me tickets to go see an Ulster rugby match with all of her family over in Belfast in a couple of weeks' time. So I thought, tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Kevin Danielle's house, who live in Manchester. I'm in Liverpool. and watch the Ulster Munster match that's coming up because Kev is a Munster fan. So we did that. We had a nice night. They made food for us. It was awesome. But then we didn't end up getting home until, I don't know, like 1:45. And on the way there, we realised that we hadn't done our food prep, even though we'd been out and bought it that day. So normally my routine is on a Friday and on a Tuesday when I've got my days off from work, I get down to the shop, write my list, go down the shop, put everything in the basket, pay for my stuff, come home, cook it. That's my food prep done for work for the next few days. But because I've been all out of whack, I was in Belfast last Tuesday coming up to New Year, and then I was all over the place trying to get stuff done and caught up and put clothes away and all of the kinds of things. I didn't do my food prep yesterday, so then we got home late and ended up doing it about midnight, because if we wouldn't have done that, then that would have knocked on even further, so that today I would have had to just try and put some kind of lunch together from the service station next door to work, and then that would have been particularly good in terms of reaching goals. And you know what I'm talking about here. You've probably done the same things in terms of having a plan, but then one thing happens and that knocks onto the next and that knocks onto the next, and before you know it, you're eating a takeaway and you haven't been to the gym for 4 weeks. And so it's like I said, it's the same things that are going to come up again and again. Maybe it's, there's a kind of a cluster of birthdays that are quite close together, so you don't get to be in your normal routine. Maybe it's that by chance, one of your kids does get sick. Maybe it's that by chance you end up getting a bit more overloaded with work. Or maybe there's a particular time of year where your job does get more demanding, and it's the same time every year, and that's where things start to unravel. What we need to know is, where did things start to unravel last time? This is what I need you to think about. If you want to be successful in achieving your New Year's resolution this year, if you didn't last year because it all fell apart, all you need to do is this: work out where it went wrong last year. Then, write all that down. Try and think of when that happened. Try and put in as much detail as you can of what happened. And then think about, right, if this happens again, or rather, when this happens again, because it probably will, how could I get around it? Plan in advance that it will go wrong, because it probably will. Think to yourself, what can I do to prevent this from happening again? If I can see it coming, what can I do to try and minimize the risk of this happening in the first place? Or if it's an inevitability, like, a busy time of the year at work, what can I do now that I've already been through that once to minimize the damage? Or what can I do to be prepared in advance for it, so that it doesn't send me off track, so that it doesn't mess up my routine too much, because I've got a backup routine ready for when it happens. Does that make sense? I just run through it again. Take some time to think. Tell you what, start it all over again. First step, as always, get yourself a notebook and a pen. You should have a notebook and a pen at hand if you've ever listened to any of my podcasts, because that's always step one of any solution, because we need to make plans and write things down. So step one, get yourself a notebook, get yourself a pen. Step two, think about where things started to unravel last year with your resolutions. Think about what got in the way. If it helps, think about the time that it started to unravel. Then once you've got the time of the year that it started to unravel, think about what was going on at that time. Then from there, you should be able to work backwards to work out kind of like the instigating incident? Yeah, something like that. The epicenter of all the issue. Try and find out what that was. There might be a couple of them. Or maybe it was just one thing and that's all we need to deal with. If it is, awesome. That makes our lives easier. So get your notebook, have a think about when things started to unravel and what it was that made them start to unravel, and write that down. Now, try and think a little bit more into what it was that was going on. Write down as much detail as you can of that situation. Now, start planning ahead for next year. Well, for this year. And have a think about what you can do to minimize the risk of it happening in the first place. You know, what can you do to avoid that happening? Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's going to visit friends. That's a bad example because that's a good thing that you want to do. Anyway, do you know what? I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or anything and you think of one, put it in the comments for me so that someone else gets an idea. And if you're struggling to think of an idea, have a look in the comments because someone might have put one there as well. So, now that you've planned ahead in terms of avoiding the situation in the first place, now think about if it does go wrong, what are you going to do or what could you do to minimize the damage of the situation? What are you going to do? What could you do to control it as much as you can, to get around it, to shuffle things around so that it's not that much of an issue if it came up? And then once you've done that, all we've got to do is wait and see. Get to work with the plan, whatever you're following. You know, maybe it's starting Slimming World again, maybe it's starting some other kind of exercise plan again, or maybe it's jumping onto my all new me challenge that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Whatever it is, just get to work on it. And then wait and see if that issue does come up again. And if it does, you already know how to deal with it this time. And hopefully that helps you get through that. Continue working in the way you've been working towards your goals so that this time next year, you don't have to listen to this podcast again, or at least this episode of this podcast, where I'm telling you how not to mess up in 2021. Okay? And maybe it turns out you absolutely nail it. You plan in advance and it doesn't go wrong in the first place. Awesome. Then maybe it does happen that you plan in advance, but it still comes wrong because we kind of expected it to. But we've planned for how to deal with it, so you manage to stay on track. Brilliant. If that's the case, winner. Crack on through 2020. If it just so happens that you anticipated that situation coming up because it's the same one that always trips you up and you manage to get through it, it could be the case that a little bit further down the line through the year, a new one comes up and that was kind of waiting in the wings, but because you're already falling off, you didn't even realise that that thing might make you fall off. And if that happens, don't even worry about it, because what you can do then this time next year is say, right, I already know how to deal with situation 1, but now I've learned that situation 2 comes up. So how am I going to deal with that one? How can I plan in advance to try and make sure it doesn't? And if it does, what's my backup plan to get around it? This whole journey that you're on is a learning process. It's a case of understanding the obstacles in your way and working out how you get around them. Because it's all well and good getting a plan, you know, being told what to eat, being told how to exercise, but that's not life. That's just stuff that you do. Life is the obstacles, and there will be obstacles in 2020. And what I want you to try and focus on this year is learning how to manage them, how to get around them, and how to beat them. Because if you can do that, if you can build that skill, if you can learn from those obstacles that do come up so that they don't become an obstacle next time round, that's how you win this game. Because it's a long-term game. Because you're going to start again. You're going to try again. Because I know you are, because you're listening to this podcast and you've made it this far. If you weren't thinking of trying again, you would have already tuned out. But you're here and listening. So I know that you're the kind of person that is absolutely determined to make this happen. And like I said right at the start, this is harder. Thinking about this stuff is harder than just getting back on the eating plan, getting back on the exercise plan. This takes quite a bit of thinking and quite a bit of working out and quite a bit of time to do that thinking and working out. So get your notebook, get thinking, get stuff written down, get planning, and let me know what you come out with. Let me know what the obstacles are that you've realized seem to come up time and time again. Pop them in the comments if you want, because then someone else might realize that that was actually the same thing that was coming up for them. I hope this helps, and I hope you go out there and smash 2020. Now, just before we wrap up, I just want to mention something that I briefly touched on earlier in the podcast. In case you haven't seen it already, this year, this January, on the 19th, I'm starting up something brand new, which I'm super excited about. I've been working on putting it together all year through 2019. I had like a tester trial of it. I got all the stuff set up online for how the systems were going to work, and now it's ready to go. So what this is a 10-week lifestyle transformation program, and it's called a lifestyle transformation program. Actually, it's not even a program, it's called a challenge. I keep changing the words of what I'm using. 10-week lifestyle transformation challenge. What that means is for 10 weeks, I'm going to sort you out with a really easy to follow, awesome nutrition plan that changes the way you think about food and think about your nutrition, so that it's much easier to follow, much easier to think about, much easier to make decisions day to day. Aside from that, every Saturday morning in our private Facebook group, there'll be a live HIIT workout that you can do from your living room, because that's where mine's going to be from. We all do it together. Every single person on the program can tune in, work out together, give each other little motivational messages. You can ask me questions of anything you're not sure on, so that you know you're doing those exercises right in real time. And then those exercises, those workouts, stay in the Facebook group for you to do throughout the week as well. So you can train 2, 3, 4 times with that workout. And aside from that, on top of that, there'll also be an optional gym program in case you do have a gym membership and you want to get stronger in what you're doing in the gym. And then the last thing that's really cool that I've added in is the weekly tasks that we'll be putting in. So these weekly tasks are little lifestyle challenges, little changes to make, little things to do day to day that really help take those eating choices, those exercise habits, and make them long-term habits, so that things stay that way even after the 10 weeks is gone. A couple of weeks ago, you might have listened to the podcast with Declan Doyle. We talked a lot about setting up your environment, and the tasks that I'll be putting into those weekly tasks, a lot of them are to do with that, understanding your environment, working out how you can set things up to make your life easier. So you got the nutrition plan, you've got the weekly live HIIT workouts on Facebook, we've got the weekly tasks, and then to top it all off, the 10-week challenge also happens to be a competition where you can win a £500 holiday. And that's first place. Second place, you can win a Fitbit Versa. Third place, you can win a £100 Amazon voucher just for taking part and being awesome. Those with the most awesome transformations win the top prizes. So not only do you finish the competition looking and feeling fantastic, you might be in with a chance to win a holiday as well. I think that's pretty awesome. And if you think it sounds pretty cool too, get involved. Now, there are only 49 spaces left on the All New Me challenge. So if you want to get on it, you're going to have to act fast. To do that, just go to seanhair.co.uk/allnewme. I'll put the link to that in the description, in the show notes, whatever you call it, for the podcast, for the video and everything. So go down there, click that link. You can find out more about the program and how it all works and get yourself signed up. It's £97, which I think is pretty cheap for changing your life in 10 weeks and being in with a chance to win the holiday as well. So get yourself over to seanhair.co.uk/allnewme, find out more about the challenge and get yourself signed up. Now that's everything from me for today. Like I said, it's not a super long episode. Mind you, it's turned out to be about 25 minutes really, but hey, there we go. Maybe I rambled on. Hopefully you stuck with me to the end, and if you did, thanks for doing that, because you're awesome. Maybe you like the sound of my voice. Maybe I'm actually saying helpful things. Hopefully it's both. Who knows? So if you've been listening on the podcast, I'm going to do all those bits about like sharing it and liking it and stuff. So if you know what I'm going to say, just do it for me. And, you know, you can tune out now. But if you don't, please just keep tuned in, because all these things massively help me reach more people and help more people. And that's what I'm doing. That's all I'm doing this for. That's what I'm here for. So if you're listening on the podcast, do me a favor, leave a review on iTunes or whatever platform you're listening on, because that helps boost my channel, my show in the search results when people are trying to find things about fitness, nutrition and health and weight loss and all that. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button for me because that helps. Leave us a comment because that helps. And click the share button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the future episodes and all the HIIT workouts that go on as well. If you're watching on Facebook, again, click the like button, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, let us know what your goals are for 2020 and what you think your obstacles might be that are going to come up and how you're going to get around them. Share it with your friends if you think they'd find this useful, if they're planning on starting up their New Year's resolutions again and they tend to sort of fall apart a few months in, let them listen to this so it might help them out as well. And I think that's all the platforms: Facebook, YouTube, podcast. Yeah, sorted. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you have an awesome year. And I'll see you in the next one.